Today's video, ladies and gentlemen, is a little interesting to me, and it's kind of a serious video, and frankly, it's pretty much in line with the videos that I make here and there. For those of you who don't know, criticism is a very important thing for me. I like reading comments, I like seeing YouTube treated as a place where you can criticize somebody, make videos, and have a little banter between each other. I like that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of against a lot of people who like to take that stuff away. And frankly, lately I've been very interested in a lot of this YouTube, I guess, social culture where I've been interested in people who have a lot of these anti-fan communities out there. Now, today's video is about an individual named Mundane Matt. Now, quick little information over there. I watched him maybe a couple times in my life, a couple times being exactly two. Now, when I made a video about talking about people who complain about news channels being necessarily easy to do, a lot of people mentioned his name, and a lot of people mentioned somebody like Yang, yeah, all these people, everyone out there under the sun. Let me put this for the record. Nobody that was really mentioning that, I never really outright target anybody in a video. I don't care about that stuff. I talk about things as a blanket whole. You want to ask me opinions? Then frankly, I'll give them to you in little pieces. Mundane Matt, guy makes a technically proficient show, cuts pieces out of it and posts it online. Is it something that's inherently difficult to do? I would say not. I think it's more just commentary on web pages that are available, common news articles. Yang, yeah, I'd say his videos are more technically proficient. They sound good, they sound professional, they look professional, so I don't have an issue with anybody, really. I think everyone does a fair job on the internet. I think that there's some content out there that a lot of people like to make a hoopla about that's inherently difficult, and in a way, making videos myself, I can see the content that takes a lot of effort and the content that doesn't take a lot of effort, and for a lot of people to outright sort of guilt their fan bases, that's a whole different story, but you get what I'm trying to say. No shade, no throwing out in this situation. What I am here to criticize is the idea of false flagging. Now, somebody like Mundane Matt, this information is a little old now. It's about 2 weeks internet time, which means forever has passed. But this is something that I've been sort of walking through, getting sort of my facts checked on it to an extent. And I've been trying to understand what's essentially going on. What essentially has happened. Basically, Mundane Matt is an individual that got, I guess, popular around the time of Gamergate, or whatever you could say, years ago. And since that train, he's become sort of a individual that covers, current SJW-ish news, so to speak, right? A lot of stuff similar to that situation. He made a big fuss about it, and through that was a claim to fame. Now, the claim to fame also involved obviously criticizing a lot of people for false flagging. I think a lot of SJWs get that flack for false flagging their criticizers. And in a sense, a lot of that does come out to be true. False flagging is a problem on YouTube. It is an offense on YouTube. It's not something that is allowed under YouTube's terms of services. And even worse than that is the DMCA claim that can be false. That's not only against YouTube terms of service, but that is also illegal as well. Now, Mundane Matt was basically exposed, caught on, when Keemstar, Mr. Medicare, and a bunch of other individuals brought them onto a stream, gave him a link, which basically opens your YouTube's watching report history. Basically, anything that you flagged upon opening this link will show up in a nice little neat list. Mundane Matt initially refused, but eventually admitted to basically false flagging videos that were criticizing him. Now, of course, there's a whole bunch of stuff to that. I'm going to leave a link in the description below with a podcast that essentially, the podcast that I'm talking about in question. You should definitely go watch it and experience the entire hoopla for yourself. But the reason why this is incredibly important to me, ladies and gentlemen, is I am against the entire notion of false flagging. False flagging, or silencing critics, or blocking your comment sections off almost makes no sense to me. Now, let me tell you a bit about criticism. I'm not saying there aren't trolls out there. Of course there are. And Mundane Matt's an individual that has an anti-fan community. Basically, he's attracted a lot of trolls, in excess of the usual people who have trolls out on the internet. We all have trolls. The thing is, we have a lot more good, active users countering the trolls out there, so you don't really get to see it all that often. Now, with Mundane Matt in this situation, he doesn't have an anti-fan community, and they're very quick to call him out on a bunch of different stuff. He's where memes like "turn off that pesky ad block" showed up from. But this is an individual that basically called people out on false flagging, called SJWs or whatever he was targeting out on false flagging, and he himself was caught doing it. Now, false flagging is basically shutting down your criticizer. So basically, on YouTube, if you make a video criticizing somebody and you don't like it, and you can get an army of people or you can get a bunch of bots to basically keep flagging the video until it's either taken down or at least age restricted, which severely kills its showcasing on YouTube search rankings, all that kind of stuff. So when that happens, all right, it is a pretty fucked up thing to do. It's silencing the people that have almost or even legitimate criticisms of you. There's legitimate criticism out there. When I was talking earlier about trolling and criticizing, I was talking about basically defining what is a criticism and what is a troll. Criticisms can be things like something you see on my comment section, like Mood I may not like this video. Could you make another type of video? You know, something like SWAT 4, for instance, or whatever, so on and so forth. That's a criticism. If somebody says my videos don't sound good or they don't look good to them, that's a criticism. I gotta take that and learn how to make my stuff better so that it appeals to more and more people. That's just how you grow as a person, not even just YouTube, that's just how you grow in general as somebody. Now, there is trolling. You know, somebody said, hey, you fat Indian fuck, get off the internet. I won't take that as seriously as somebody who's legitimately giving me criticism. In the case of Mundane Matt, if you criticize the individual and you were a smaller channel than his, then he could, in theory, at least try to flag your video or at least get it taken down. And maybe that could do something, maybe it won't. It depends on how the system works that day. It depends on how the system is feeling that day in general. We never know what's going behind on YouTube, so anything can fucking happen. In Matt's case, he did file stuff, as was shown in this podcast, through error reports, watch history, all that kind of stuff. So as time is going on, we come across an individual who basically has fallen from grace by criticizing people doing the exact same thing that he has done. The same crime that he criticized people for was committed on his behalf. Me, I'm against any of that shit. Turning off comments, blocking your shit off, it makes no fucking sense to me. YouTube is only amazing because of a comment section, because of people making videos about things that they either like or they dislike. You start a dialogue, you start exchanges. And I think if you put yourself out there on the internet as a personality, then you should be fucking willing to take that stuff back to you. What I find morally fucked about this is people like Mundane Matt treat this as their job. This is their job. And for a lot of their criticizers out there, some of them, this is also their job too. So these people are against being false flagged because they are going to lose their job, their channels, or so on and so forth. They're going to put themselves at risk, but they amorally do the exact same thing to somebody else, which is just fucked up to believe. It's completely hypocritical. It's entirely fucked up, and it shouldn't be happening. You should never false flag someone. You should never falsely do something like that on YouTube. You're fucking over the system. You're going to eventually get caught one day, such as this, and it's just not ethical to do. It's not right. And frankly, to not call somebody out on this is almost joining them in causing this to somebody else. Who knows how many people are affected? Who knows how many people are permanently affected because of this shit? And now they won't ever get their channels back or so on and so forth. Who knows how much of this shit has happened? But it's something that should be nipped in the ass right here, right there. Anybody who's saying that careers are dead because of this are absolutely rightfully so. This is one of those black marks that you just can't walk away from. This is an absolute fucked move to pull off. And it's not something anybody should be backing him behind or trying to protect or doing anything. And staying quiet about it after trying to shut it out for so long and causing the Streisand effect isn't exactly doing any help. See, for a lot of these people who have anti-fan communities, the one thing in common is that they'll go behind and try to hide whatever they do, in fact, or they'll try to defend themselves or paint the picture differently. And the issue with that is, once something's on the internet and it's out there in the open, it doesn't fucking go away. You're stuck with that. It will always be there. If I put a picture of my pubic hair up on the internet, it will fucking be there. If I try to remove my pubes from the internet, my pubes will cover the fucking internet, okay? Just putting that into perspective, what I'm talking about. The more you try to hide shit, the more it shows up in the internet. It's the fucking Streisand effect. And a lot of these people try to do this stuff and they will always have a black mark because no matter how much they try to hide shit, it will always show up on the internet. And am I against somebody like Mundane Matt? Am I malicious towards him? Am I trying to defame the individual? No. I'm just giving my take on proven facts that have been showcased on live video. This cannot be disputed. There's nothing libelous about this. There's nothing slanderous about this. It's stuff that we have seen play out with his own mouth and with other people in a call, sharing the stuff out there. And frankly, I think none of this should even be tolerated to an extent. I personally feel the situation that has transpired is something that should be talked about, something that should be taken as a case study. If you see any other content creator like this doing this to anybody else on the internet, shutting them down, false flagging them, removing them, basically putting a fucking end stop to their YouTube career or YouTube hobbyism or whatever you want to call it, putting an end to anybody like this, for having proper criticisms, for calling people out, for basically exposing somebody on committing fraud on YouTube, the same shit that can get your channel terminated because you're violating YouTube's entire terms of service. God forbid he had done any false, illegal DMCA claim. That could have been a fucking legal issue on YouTube's part if the other party actually took it out, if that was completely false on their end. So whatever has happened, I think Mundane Matt's got a pretty solid slap on the wrist. But this is not something I want to really see on his end brought up to attention. I think the notion of having this blackened mark around you is pretty much as bad as things can get. It's worse than an entire death sentence now that people have basically branded you and proven you out to be somebody who basically violates YouTube systems in of itself, or goes against what they preach, basically being an entire hypocrite. So maybe, Mundane Matt, my message to you is don't do stuff like this. It just doesn't fucking work. And do I believe you can rectify things? I'm a person that believes there's always good in somebody. And you got a lot to prove, buddy, and I hope you prove it. I hope you end up doing well with your channel, and I hope you end up not doing this kind of shit again. And I hope you'll learn from these kind of mistakes. Any critic out there that makes their living off criticism but refuses to accept it is fucked to me. I don't understand that. Okay, we live off of criticism. If you put your face out there, be learn to take whatever punishment is coming towards you, within reason, of course. If somebody is threatening your children or family or whatever, it's okay to take those videos down. It's okay to fight those people. That's fucked up. But if somebody calls you out on violating or lying to your viewer base or misrepresenting information, and you get pissy about that, then there's no reason that person should be taken down. They're in the fucking right, you were in the wrong, and you should learn to accept that shit. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like if you dislike it, this is me, Mudahar, and I am out.